right, awesome. So let's do some simple pinging within Python because we can use that as a condition to kind of help with error handling in a sense. So if we are like leveraging NetMiko or netconf, all right, it kind of expects the box to be up, right? And we can do some pre-tests, right? And kind of say, hey, is this box up? Like, is this router up? Before trying to go in and connect using NetMiko, right? Just kind of go in and tune the knobs a little bit, right? Those geeky knobs, right? Just tweak, right? So let's get at it, right? So before we ping, right, we have to import a couple of modules. And the first one that we want to import is, or import some libraries, right? So import OS. So let's import OS, and with OS, we can like shell to the underlying operating system, right? So let's do response equals os.system, if I could spell system, right? And let's do ping c. Dash C is in like Linux, how many pings to send. In this case, we're telling it to send one ping only, right? And then the host or IP address that you want to ping, right? Cool. And let's run that, right? All right, what do we get? Awesome. All right. So let's do print response, right? What do we get? Awesome, cool. All right, so we're taking the output of ping, right? And we're shoving it into response, and then we're printing that. And what we get is 0. Cool, all right. What happens if the box is down, right? So I'm going to provide a what I hope is a non-resolvable domain, right? Cool, sweet. You see this? 512. Cool. All right. What happens with Windows, right? So let's bring up Windows. Just happen to have a Windows box. Let me see. We need to import OS. Define our variable. We want to use OS, the function of system, and pass in some parameters. It's ping what. What is it? Well, that's a really good question. Let's bring up a command prompt. Let's see what we have. All right. Ping question. All right. No. Oh, -C in Windows is routing compartment identifier. I don't think that's the same thing. -S count. Timestamp for hops. No, not the same thing. R count. Record route for count hops. No. N. Alright. Send one ping only. Cool. Alright. Well, let's do that. That was N, a number, and then a domain. Cool. And let's see what that response is. Let's start the debugger. Awesome. Cool. All right. So a successful ping is 0. What happens if we do a non-resolvable 1. All right, so Windows is 1. Cool. Well, let's jump back to our Linux box. And what do we have here? All right, so we know that with Linux, to do a simple ping, it is -C, right? And then how many requests that you want to send. In Windows, it's -N. So there is a difference between Windows and Linux. And we want to try to be as agile, right, as we can. Write the code once, but use it many, right? Like, don't repeat yourself. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to bring in, let me take caps lock off, bring in the platform library and comment out this code, right? So we got that commented out, and let's print platform and use the function of platform and see what we get, right? What do we get? Cool. So it spits out a platform. All right. So I'm suspecting we can write a condition around that, right? So let's do that. Let's come up here and do something like if platform, bring or use the platform function of platform equals, you got to do double equals here, and what should it equal? What if we, oh well, let's do that differently. Let's do contains, right? So I don't have to specify that whole string. I can just say, does it contain like Linux? All right. So we end our header for the if condition statement. We come down, and what do we want to do? Let's do print what we want to print. Let's just be generic. Hello Linux, all right? Else print no Linux, right? Let's see what we have. So what I'm expecting is platform using the function of platform. We're checking to see if it contains the word Linux, because I see Linux here, right? So I'm thinking true. And so I'm expecting it to print hello Linux, right? So let's run this, see what we get. No Linux. All right. Well, that's a little trick question. All right. So it is case sensitive. So for this, I'm going to tell it, take the results of platform, of that function, and lower it, right? Freaking lowrider. We can jack it up, right? We can say, no, we don't want to have it all lowercase. Let's do capitalize, right? We can jack it up. So it's more of a preference there. I prefer lower, right? So we can say stick it in lowercase, or excuse me, take the results of platform, do lowercase. Then we can say contains Linux, right? So this allows us to be a little bit more flexible. We don't really need to know the capitalization of the output of the function platform. So down the road, if for some reason they change the Linux letter, the L in Linux, to be capitalized, it won't affect us. Or let's say they capitalize the N, right? They come in and down the road they go like this, it won't affect us because we're taking it and we're saying take that output all lowercase and let's check the condition, right? So I'm expecting it to print hello Linux. Awesome, cool. All right, so now we have a condition there that will check the platform for us, right? But we also want to do it for Windows. So let's expand on this a little. So I'm going to erase that else, and let's do a else if and say platform, right? Use that library. Use the function platform. Again, let's do lowercase, right? Contains Windows, right? So I don't care how they stylize their output of platform. I don't care. You can do capitals, you can lowercase, you can camel case it. I don't care because I'm taking it, I'm sticking it to become a lowrider. So no matter what happens in the future, if it's Linux, right, it will perform that condition. If it's Windows, it will perform that condition, right? So let me finish this off real quick. And that's cool, right? So now we have a condition and we can put code in there to perform a function or do something. What we can do to make it more portable is let's comment out that code, right? Comment it out. Come down here and let's define our own function, right? So def, and let's do is active, right? And now our function will take one parameter. And that parameter that we need to suck in is an IP address or a host name. So we can do host, right? So let's end that function definition, come down here, and actually provide some meat to the skeleton. And to start off with, let's do our conditional check for what platform we're on because of ping syntax being different for Linux and Windows. So to start, let's do our if platform, right? We're sucking in and using that function. We need to lower it. Contains, whoops. You can say Linux, right? That's just my placeholder for comments. I'm going to do pass. Don't worry about why I'm doing this or the context around pass. Is just to ensure that I don't have any squiggly marks of wrong syntax as I construct the basis for these conditional statements, right? So dot lower, we need to say contains, right? And this one will be Windows, and then Windows does that. Cool. All right. So if the platform is Linux, we need to do something, right? If the platform is Windows, we need to do something. Well, the something that we want to do is to ping the host and to return if it's true or false, right? So let's give a comment to this functions for our future self, right? So if we come back here and have to read this code, we kind of have an understanding of what we're intending. So we come up here and we could be as simple as ping host, return a bool, right? We come in here and we can say response. So we define our variable. We can say os.system, right? And what do we want to shell, right? What do we want to send to the underlying bash or terminal command? Well, if we're Linux, we got to do a -c, right? And send one ping. And then, since we're sucking in a parameter, that variable host, right, we can leverage that in our statement. Host, right? If I could only spell. Cool. All right. So it's going to ping, right, of a count of 1, that host. Whatever we suck in, it's going to ping it. And it will take that result and shove it into a response, into our variable. So let's do a conditional statement around that. All right. So if response, right, double equals, because we're testing that condition. We're not assigning, we're testing, equals 0, right? We're going to return a bool, right? So return true, because it pinged, it's up. Awesome, right? Or else something happened, it didn't respond, right? So in theory it's down, return false. And we do the same for the Windows one, right? So Windows ping, right? And we come up here and we place our comment and we say Linux ping, right? And we know that the ping condition in Windows is different. So what we do is response equals OS system ping, right? And what was that value or that syntax, that parameter that's looking in? All right, awesome. That was the argument 1. And then what? We're bringing in host, so let's use host. So it's going to ping that host 1 time, stick the results into the variable response, and now we can act upon that. So if response, double equals 0, that means we're good, and we are going to return true. Else, something happened, we're going to return false, right? So when it comes down to actually performing something and we need to ping, we don't have to keep writing this because we defined it in a function and we could just reuse it. So what I mean by reusing it is if is active, right? And what are we passing in? Well, we're passing in a host, right? And it says host any in my IDE. And sometimes that might not be useful, especially if it's several months down the road and you're scratching your head, well, what does host do, right? we can kind of do a what's called a type hint, and we can say, well, host is a string. Right? So when we come down here, and we're using a fancy IDE, we can say if is active, right? And it will tell us what it expects host to be, right? Oh, a string, all right. And we can see that it's going to return a bool. So we can go, is active, well, google.com, right? Equals true to the awesome sauce, right? And I'm going to do that fancy, actually, no, we can just do print. All right, print awesome else, right? Because it returned false down here. So we can say no, right? Now, what do you expect? Well, if I run this, what I expect is Google is going to return that value of 0, which is up. So it's going to be true, and then it's going to print awesome, right? So let's do start. Do we have any bugs? No. Awesome! All right, cool, sweet. And we can check to ensure that it's functioning for the other, right? So we go start debugging. No, right? All right, cool. So at a very, very high level, you did awesome. I mean, we constructed a function, right? And this function basically is portable between Windows and Linux. And we could include Mac there, but I don't have currently a Mac to work on. But what that will allow us to do is to build upon that, right? We just stuck another screwdriver in our belt, and we can build upon this and have some more conditional, some more logic in there that says, hey, you know, if you're not up, I'm not going to attempt to connect to you via NetMiko or via RESTconf or via NetConf, right? Or try to tuku you with an API. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to try because you didn't respond to ping. I know this can be a lot, and I want you to know that I was there, and you're doing awesome, and don't quit, man. You got this, dude. Rock on, man. Since you stuck around, man, I'm going to give you a pro tip, right? You ready for this? Sweet. All right. So what we can do is that we can kind of shorten this a little bit, right? We can do this, right? But what this is we can say if OS system, right? Ping, right? We're sending one ping only. Host equals 0, right? And we can do the same down here. We can say OS system ping in, right? equals 0. We've just shortened it a little bit. Awesome. See that, man? Cool. You just kind of made it a little bit neat and tight, right? Sweet. If you like this, man, please do the subscribe, touch that bell, and do a comment, man. Cool, man.